Today I'm going to be doing some baby back ribs on the Weber kettle, but I'm going to be trying something I've never tried before. I know other people have done it, I've never done it. And what is that? Stick around and you'll see. Okay, before we get to the ribs and what's going to be different about the way I cook them today, got to get the rub ready. Now I've got my bowl ready for the rub, but you might notice it's a big bowl, bigger than the bowls I usually use for mixing rubs. Well, that has something to do with the way I'm going to prepare the ribs. So let's get that rub ready. We've got half a cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of paprika, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic, and a half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. I'm just going to whisk this together in this bowl. This is good. Let's move on to prepping these ribs. So here's my rack of baby backs. I've already removed the membrane from the back, trimmed it up a bit, but what I've got to do first now is I got to turn it over so it's bone side up. Why am I doing that? Watch. Here are the bones. Here's the meat. I'm going to cut these into individual ribs before I smoke them. These are my individual ribs. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to dump them in that bowl of rub. Just going to toss these ribs in here and work the rub all over them. So why am I doing this? Why did I pre-cut them? Well, I've seen some recipes where people have done this. I've got a really nice coating of flavor all the way around the ribs. And when they did it, it took a little less time. And now I'm not saying that I would do ribs like this all the time, but I want to see how these turn out. I want to see what sort of bark we get all the way around the ribs. You want to make sure you work them in here and get a good coating on every side of these ribs. That's the reason I'm doing this, because I want this rub everywhere, all the way around the rib, so that when we're done, should be able just to pick up a rib, get that rub flavor on all sides, not just the top and the bottom. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna let these set for about 15 minutes while I go outside and get the Weber kettle going. So I have the Weber kettle set up for indirect with 1 briquette basket. I just lit one side so we'll get a little more burn time. And I have 2 of the 3 water pans that I normally use in my Oklahoma Joe's Highland. I want to keep moisture in this today since these ribs are cut individually. They're going to get heat on all sides. So let's get the grill grate on. Let's get our temperature probe placed right about there. Let's flip up this little wing here. This is where we'll be adding wood today as we smoke these ribs. All right, the Weber kettle is up to temp, it's above temp. I want to run this around 250 degrees Fahrenheit today. If it's between 225 and 275, that's fine, but it's a little high now. That'll moderate once we get these ribs on and set the vents. So I have my little roasting grid set up on here to hold the ribs. That'll make turning them easier later too, because I want to rotate this 180 degrees, probably about an hour in. These are going to want to lay on their sides. Big ones up front. I'll try and keep a little bit of airspace between them. I'll have to play around with the spacing. Make sure everybody has a spot at the party today. Okay, that looks good. It's time to get some hickory wood on these coals. As I like to, I've got these long pieces of hickory that I cut down from my logs. We're going to let that catch first before we close it up, start making smoke, and start cooking. Oh, that hickory smell right away. God, I love hickory with ribs. All right, our hickory's going. Let's close our little wing here. Let's get our lid on. Now I'm going to go ahead and knock this top vent down to about 3/4, maybe a little less. And I'm going to set my bottom vent to 1/3. So in about an hour, I'll be rotating these, both that entire cooking grid and turning them over. Because they're individual ribs, we got to kind of be mindful of every side of them. So I think one good flip about an hour in should do it, along with that turn. I'm not going to be spritzing them because I've got both those water pans in there. That should help provide enough moisture. And I think probably after about 2 hours, I'm going to be wrapping them in foil. Again, I'm trying this. I've never done this before, and there's a lot of different methods for doing it. I'm kind of creating my own here. So I'm going to attempt to do almost like a 2-1-1 and see if that works. So 2 hours unwrapped, 1 hour wrapped, and then that final hour not wrapped with some barbecue sauce glaze on them. So I'll bring you back when it's time to turn these. Okay, we are right at about an hour. The kettle temp's about 230, getting on the lower range of what I want, so it's perfect time. We're gonna turn these ribs and add some briquettes. Oh, those are looking really nice. Really good color on those. All right, so I am gonna rotate this 180 degrees first. And now I'm just going to turn each rib to the other side. All right, looking good. Slide these back a little bit further away from the briquette basket and the coals. There we go. Let's check our briquettes and our wood. Let's flip our wing up here. We're gonna knock some of this ash off. I'm gonna add some more briquettes. Probably gonna add about, I don't know, 10 or 12. There was some smothered charcoal in there that I had reused at the bottom. I think that burned a little more quickly. It was mostly spent. I'm gonna get another piece of hickory on here. And we're gonna let that hickory catch. Have I mentioned before that I love the smell of hickory? It's my favorite wood to use for ribs. All right, our hickory is burning. Let's get the lid back on and keep smoking. Bring you back in an hour when I'm pretty sure we're gonna wrap these. All right, our kettle temp is at 239, 2 hours in. Let's take a look at these ribs because I think it's gonna be time to wrap them. They are looking very, very nice. Yeah, even in this light coming through my patio cover, they're looking good. Take a look here and see. Just starting to get some retraction. Not a lot, but we're just starting to get it. You know, some of these show a little bit more. You can see that. All right, I'm gonna wrap these now. I'm just gonna start taking these ribs. I'm gonna put them on this foil. I'm actually just gonna stack them in here. Try and make one foil pouch. So I am gonna add some moisture here, but I'm also gonna put some Famous Dave's rib rub just in the package and on some of these. Some of that flavor is gonna get in there. It's not gonna coat every rib, but that's not what I want. I want the flavor in there. And the liquid I'm gonna be adding is 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar, 5 tablespoons of water, and 1 tablespoon of barbecue sauce. I'm not gonna add it all, but that's the ratio. Just gonna put some in here so we have a little bit of moisture. And we are gonna start wrapping these up. Gonna double wrap this so we get a nice tight seal. Let's get this back on the kettle. Now we don't need any smoke during this section of the cook, but let's check our briquettes. Knock a little bit more ash down so we get good airflow in the basket. Add some more briquettes. All right, let's get our lid back on. Keep cooking for about an hour, and then we'll come back and check them. All right, we are 3 hours in now. Kettle temp's really holding steady. It's been between about 235 and 260 the whole time. So we've done our 2 hours unwrapped, or 1 hour wrapped. Let's get these out of here and get them in some sauce for that final hour. Get our foil package opened up. Ooh, those are looking good. Oh boy, those smell good too. Look at that. I'll show you one here. Got nice retraction, so we are ready to sauce these. And let's get our ribs in here before the flies get them. What I'm going to be doing here is just adding a thinned out barbecue sauce. The thinning liquid I used was the same liquid I used to put moisture into the foil pouch. So we're just going to pour this all over these ribs. Then I'm going to get in there, get my gloves dirty, get a good coating on here. Oh man, these smell good. I hope you can see these in this light. These are just gorgeous ribs. All right, that's looking good. Let's get them back on the grill. It's going to do the same thing I did before. It's going to place them on here. Try and keep a little bit of space between them. I want to check my briquettes here. Knock a little more ash down. Put a few more briquettes in here. And I want to get my last stick of hickory in there. A lot of people say you can't get any more smoke flavor that last hour or last several hours. These ribs are covered in sauce. Smoke loves moisture. So if I can get a little more hickory smoke flavor in there, it's worth it to burn this last little stick. Let's close our little wing here. And let's get our lid on so these ribs can finish up. Bring you back when it's time to take them off. All right, we're at the end of our 4th hour. That last hour unwrapped with sauce. Let's see how we're doing. I know in this light it's impossible to see, but these have a gorgeous color. You'll get to see when I take them inside, but I just want to check right now for tenderness. Yep. We are ready. All right, I'm going to get these inside and do some tasting. Here are the finished ribs. 4 hours, and there is bark on every side of this. So the advantage to doing it this way is that you get bark on every side of the meat. They are tender, I know that from probing them, but the ultimate test here is, what do they taste like? So let's get to that. Here's one of the ribs. I mean, hopefully you can see that. It is just gorgeous, and it's hot. It's burning my hand, but I'm gonna hold this so you can see it. But how do they taste? Let's see. That's a darn good rib. Wow. Like I like it, not fall off the bone, there's bite to it. That is really, really good. Flavor all the way around. I have to say, this works. Wow. These are just as tender as if I had done them a traditional way. You know, just naked the entire time for say 5 hours or so, or a 3-2-1 method or a 3-1-1 method. In 4 hours, doing it that way, they're tender. Wow. I hope you can see that clean bite right off the bone. Really, really good. Rub all the way around just like I wanted. Now that sauce at the end doesn't hurt either, but I got to tell you, there's rub all over this. It is awesome. So an advantage to doing the ribs this way is getting that bark entirely around every individual rib. Disadvantage is, it's a little more work. You have to turn each individual rib. But I got to tell you, if you want a different sort of rib experience where you want flavor around the entire rib, every single rib you serve, and you don't have to cut up a slab, this is really a way you could do it. I'm gonna have rib stuff in my mustache for a week. So this was not about the flavoring or anything like that. You could use any rub, any sauce, any way you want. This is about the method and testing this. I know other people have done it. I had never done it. I wanted to try it and see if I could do these ribs in about 4 hours with that modified 2-1-1 method. It worked. These are really, really good ribs. So this just adds another method into the repertoire you might have of cooking ribs. You can cut them up individually, rub them, cook them, sauce them, wrap them, and you get some awesome ribs at the end.